Former ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule has launched his own political party called the African Congress for Transformation. This is what he said earlier.
One objective today we want to achieve is to announce a new organization. We're not joining any other party. I have engaged leaders of different political parties, especially progressive parties in South Africa, of the like-minded, the people who understand the aspirations of our people. As I've said, I've also informed the leaders of the African National Congress. Number one, we uphold African nationalism as our foundation pillar. Number two, we cherish and foster Pan-Africanism as our liberating creed. Number three, we are guided by the spirit of African self-determination. Why does a political party exist? I'm not going to talk about us for now, but about a political party. A political party exists as a vehicle for socio-economic change, aiming at bettering the lives of its people. A political party exists as a fortress of hope for the oppressed and downtrodden masses. Our political party will exist as a custodian of the aspirations of its people and generations to come. A political party exists, and this political party shall exist to challenge all forms of oppression, discrimination, and injustices.
Let's speak now to political analyst Omry Makgoale. Thank you very much, sir, for your time this afternoon. And so there you have it. Ace Magashule believes he can do it better than the party he has been in for decades. Your initial reaction?
Yes, well, basically, first let's say, we wish him all the best in what he's trying to do. As to whether his party can actually do better than the ANC, I don't know about that. Well, what I would say is that all the offshoots from ANC, all the parties that left ANC, most of them have not been successful. The only one that is maybe successful at the moment, looks like successful, is EFF. But all the other offshoots from ANC have not been successful. For the simple reason that the ANC embodies all the values that our African nationalism is all about, Pan-Africanism is all about. But at the moment, people leave the ANC because of corruption and incompetence-related problems and the factional problems. Mainly is corruption at the root cause of ANC problems and incompetence in running the state that has led to many of these parties being formed. So I don't think that at the go, I don't think that this organization will do better than the ANC, except if they are going to be very clean and ethical. But from the history of what Ace used to do in the Free State, the way he used to run the Free State, I doubt if he will do better than the ANC myself.
Here's what Ace Magashule said about the ANC. Let's take a look, listen.
There has been a bitter struggle inside the African National Congress for its soul. There have been contradictions over the years for the hegemony of progressive ideas within the ANC. Sadly, we have seen the oldest organization moving fast towards the right and abandoning its center-left position.
Is that a correct diagnosis that the ANC is moving to the right?
Well, I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. I think the key problem in the ANC is corruption. Corruption by ANC leaders, corruption by ANC employees in the state and in the state institution. That is the main problem, rather than ideological deviations or moving away from ANC core principle. The main issue, the main problem in the ANC is corruption. And if ANC can address corruption, most of these parties actually will evaporate. If ANC can address corruption and run the state in a competent way, deploy people who are competent in the various positions of, whether it's ESCOM, Transnet, PRASA, deploy competent people who are qualified, who are ethical. Most of these parties, I think, will disappear in my mind. But as long as the ANC is as corrupt as it is at the moment, extremely corrupt, and it's incompetent in running the state, all these parties will keep on mushrooming, but it's not ideological in my mind. It's more to do with corruption.
Ace Magashule's party is called the African Congress for Transformation, and he characterizes as a new ship of freedom. He's also spoken about how some have suffered collective betrayal at the hands of the ANC, which he has accused of selling out with a few pieces of silver. Let's take a listen at that moment.
Julius Malema was expelled for demanding the return of the land. Jacob Zuma was hunted down like a dog for fighting white monopoly capital. A new cadre, ANC cadre, that is endorsed by the DA and neoliberal handlers has emerged.
Is it just about corruption in the ANC? Is that a correct diagnosis from him, that ideologically, if you move away, not if you move away rather, but if you have a different view from the party, then you get sidelined?
No, I don't think he's correct in terms of different views. ANC has had people with different views inside the ANC. The ANC is a church, as they normally say. It's got communists who are hardcore communists. It's also got nationalists and it's got Christians, all members of the ANC. So in terms of ideological things, I don't really agree with him, because the communists and the Christians in the ANC live together and work together, and the nationalists work together in the ANC. So I don't agree with this. The main issue with regard to the people as mentioned is about corruption, access to the state resources, access to loot the state. They all were fighting to access the state resources for themselves and for their families and their relatives, not really for the benefit of ANC and the South African people, So the key issue is, in the ANC, if we fight corruption, and at the moment we are not fighting corruption, the current leadership of the ANC lacks the will to fight corruption, lacks the courage to fight corruption. And that's why the ANC is continuing with corruption and going down, And that is the main issue, an incompetence in running the state. You have Transnet, you have ESCOM, you have PRASA, all these institutions are not being run by competent people. And this is why you're not sure of a train, whether you are in the Vereeniging, whether you'll go to Jamestown safely with a train, because the things are not being run properly. So the main problems, as I say, is corruption and incompetence. And as long as the ANC does not address those two issues, parties will continue to be formed. But they are formed mainly because they want to access the state resources. They want to, access the treasury. They want to get the money, access them, and control the monies. That's all they want. But it's not really in the interest of ANC or the people of South Africa. And I think that the parties will continue to mushroom. As you saw, the multi-party, pact that was discussed earlier this month, it's there also. But most of those parties are formed because the ANC is extremely corrupt and lacks the will to address corruption, and it's maintained, and it's run by incompetent people, and the state infrastructure is not run properly, and that's why these parties are there. The parties will disappear as soon as the ANC can correct itself. But I don't know if he's got the capacity to do that at the moment.
Burning Ndlemeza as part of the African Congress for Transformation, does that come as a surprise to you?
No, the name doesn't surprise me, because, Ace Magashule has been, part of the RET machinery in the ANC, Radical Economic Transformation. So that is just a version of that in my mind, and he's continuing with that. And so it's not surprising, that name. It's not surprising.
Is it surprising that he consulted and engaged with former President Thabo Mbeki, former President Jacob Zuma, former President Motlanthe, as well as Matthew Sposa?
I don't think it's surprising also. He contacted them to get their opinion, to try and canvass them, so that some of them must support him spiritually, that they must agree with him that the current ANC is no longer serving the purpose, and spiritually they must support him when he forms a new party, because he needs that support, somehow endorsement, spiritual support. But I don't think it will really help much. The key issue is the ANC must solve its own problems internally to make sure that the opposition parties, the mushrooming parties, are treated properly, because the voters of ANC, have now been split. They are voting for all these parties now. The historical voters of ANC are now voting for EFF. They will vote for Magashule. Others are voting for COPE. Others are voting for UDM. All those are traditional voters of ANC. But they are like that now because the ANC is extremely corrupt, and the leadership, the current leadership, lacks the will and the courage to address corruption inside the ANC.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time this afternoon. Political analyst Omry Makgoale.